More coffee, country, and Cody is on WSM.
Yes, it's a kinder, gentler town, this Music City, you know as Nashville. You got any more sounders you'd like to play?
No. Well, yeah. Sadly, I do. I'm just going away now.
Our meteorologist, Stefano Di Pietro, just used the word, a lovely rebound. He's all about good sunshine often, but a lovely rebound. That's how we approach it. Lovely when we get through really cold, nasty weather and come out on the other side with something a little more moderate midwinter. And I welcome you to Coffee, Country, and Cody. I'm Bill Cody. That's Charlie Mattos, who'd rather us not mention his name right now. That's Kelly Sutton. Annie Nye is our studio director. Jeff Roberts is in master control.
I'll be going by Zach Bennett for the rest of the day.
Oh, that's a great old trick. Gary Burbank, one of my radio heroes, most notably, a lot of you will know him from Cincinnati, but I knew him as a huge personality in the Louisville market at WAKY, and then later we worked together at WHAS. He was actually in my wedding, and he would do that if he goofed up on the air. He'd say, "Hi, I'm Wayne Perky," who was the morning guy, or he'd just pick a name. "Hi, I'm Joe Donovan."
Yeah. If you like what I did, I'm Kelly Sutton. If you didn't like what I did, I'm Charlie Mattos.
There was a segment on the log, the printed log back in the old days, that between the top of the hour and the start of University of Kentucky basketball, there would be this odd start time, so there would be like 12 minutes of music.
Oh.
So they just put FILL MUSIC, Phil Music.
Right.
So Gary would go on the air, jock 2 or 3 songs leading up as Phil Music.
Hi, I'm Phil. That's great.
It's brilliant. From the Opry Plaza, Acuff House Studio, and of course, behind the airwaves is our interactive museum attached to the studio here, which you are welcome to tour. You get to, with a tour ticket, when you tour the Opry House, you can come see us. So we hope you will. Kelly Sutton, good morning, and we are headed into the weekend.
Yeah, we got a great weekend coming up, hopefully. We got 2 shows. Got a show tonight and show tomorrow night. I'll be at the podium tomorrow night. Mike Terry will be there tonight. And tomorrow night, Old 60 will be making their Grand Ole Opry debut. So I'm doing a little research on that band from Kentucky. Also want to tell you all about Chris Jansen getting 5 times platinum. This is pretty cool for him. Old Dominion. Is the bar open yet? No, but we do have a sneak peek of what it's going to look like inside, and Kenny Chesney adding more shows at the Sphere, surprising absolutely no one.
I thought you were asking for Struggle Jennings, who's coming to see us a little later when you said,
right.
Is the bar open yet?
No, not yet.
Struggle will be here in just a little while, and we'll meet Jeremie Albino, a Toronto native, with a brand new album. It's out in multiple colors on vinyl, Charlie. I saw that orange and blue and the traditional black.
They make you want to buy them all.
Yeah. Our time in the sun, he hopes you will, as a matter of fact.
More coffee, country, and Cody is on WSM.
So we're in the mid-20s in Middle Tennessee this morning, but for this guy, it's a balmy Toronto morning, I guess, isn't it? Huh? Welcome in here, Jeremie. Good to see you, man.
How you doing? Thanks for having me out.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Jeremie Albino. He wanted to correct us and he didn't correct us. He just went ahead before he had to correct us to make sure. But we already knew it was Albino because as soon as I saw it, I was connected to Charlie's people, the Portuguese, and that's what
My grandfather's first name was Albino, spelt exactly the same way.
And your aunt got very upset that Jackson, your son, is not Albino.
Yes, she wanted to, and my godfather was Raul, so when she heard we were naming my son Jackson, she said, well, name him something good like Albino or Raul.
So I saw for you, it's a Filipino dad and a Quebecois mom.
Yeah. That's my mom's French Canadian. My dad's from Manila, and that's where it's funny. I guess Portuguese went to Philippines one long time ago, and there's a lot of Portuguese names out there now. Yeah.
Well, it's good to have you in the Acuff
Yeah,
House
appreciate y'all having us out.
We're doing a little history of Mr. Acuff.
Yeah.
The place where you sit and the stage you're on is the wood.
It's pretty awesome to hear all
Ryman
that.
Auditorium that the Circle is made from.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Did you spend time on PEI, Prince Edward Island?
Oh no, so this is Prince Edward County. It sounds the same, but it's not too far out of the city, and so that's kind of like where I live right now. It's just it's kind of like a wine country out in just outside Toronto. Oh, okay. And I kind of, before I was making music, I was working on farms out there, and and yeah, I was just a kind of farm labor. I'd be weeding carrots and picking beets, and we'd drive into the city every weekend and do a big farmers market, and between all that, I kind of was doing music for a long time, and then somehow it clicked. People kind of like what I was doing, and I kind of had to let all that go and hit the road.
So,
that's
Jeremy?
so funny. You think about, we don't think about Canadians being like the farmland that we're used to in the South, Indiana and Kentucky, but you're like, oh, I'm weeding carrots. And I'm like,
Yeah.
me too. That's what I used to do in the summer.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite vegetable after spending your early life doing that?
Honestly, I mean, I love it all, man. It's always it's funny when you're on the road, you know, you don't tend to eat the best food. It's not, and so anytime I get home and I could have something out of the garden, I just feel replenished and feel good, you know. But yeah, you know, we have a really big garden at home now. Like I don't farm anymore, but my family and I, we have like a big old garden that we're just everything: radishes, rutabaga, beans, long beans, short beans, peas, sweet potatoes, like the whole grocery store worth of stuff, I guess.
I am 61 years old. I'm not sure I've ever had a rutabaga.
You
Oh,
might
man.
have and didn't know it.
You think so?
Yeah.
Probably.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
you think of a turnip?
Yeah, I've had a
Yeah.
turnip.
All right.
Kind of
Honestly,
in
yeah,
the
it's a turnip.
family?
Yeah, it's like a turnip, and they're the ones that you get in the store. They're really huge and waxy. And but when we grow them at home, they're like a little smaller and they're really sweet. And
Okay.
you could eat them raw. Like it's like you could
Yeah.
cut them up like a carrot, and they're like sweeter than a carrot.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah, they're really good.
Well, so when the next album comes out, you come back and visit us. You bring us a rutabaga.
yeah,
as well
yeah,
as the new
yeah.
record.
We gotta time it right, but I'll bring it all down for
okay,
you.
all right,
Yeah.
thank
It's actually going to be the title track of the album.
Yeah,
Rutabaga.
There you go. Yeah.
Nice.
He just joined us. Jeremie Albino is our guest this morning.
So you mentioned the farmers market heading to Toronto to
Yeah.
the city. Well, the other big thing that that city brought to you was busking in
Yeah, yeah.
Toronto, and that was huge. And man, if you can do that for 4 or 5 hours, playing a gig anywhere has got to seem like a piece of cake, right?
Yeah.
We relate because we see people doing it on Lower Broadway.
Yeah,
here.
true. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, you know, like I feel like early on it was really fun doing that in my career because, I mean, that's what I did when I was just starting to play. Like I'd just go out and I wouldn't really tell anyone. I just go out and you know, because at home with the family and all that, everyone's wanting you to play something. They're like, you have a family over, like, come on, Jeremy, come play something for everyone. And when you're starting out, you're kind of shy and you don't really want to do that with people you know. But when you go out on a boardwalk somewhere or like on the street, people are walking by, and you could kind of like just kind of work your craft and kind of do it a little more fearlessly and get some confidence. And I think even with those like little, like when people come through and you get kind of little interactions where like people will stop and just listen to a couple of songs and just connect with you. And that's like from the start, like since I was like probably 16 when I started doing that. Like I feel like that connection with people with those little performances, I still look for when I'm on stage and no matter how big the stage is, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's I kind of carry that with me a lot when I'm on the road. Yeah.
If they're walking by, you got to hook them.
Yeah.
So you got to.
And I'm
something
still
to make
working
'em
on that.
stop.
You know, like
Yeah.
when you're kind of touring, especially when you're doing like those like right now I'm on a headline tour, but whenever I've done like support tours, you know, there's a bunch of people who haven't seen you before, and that's what me and the band were always just like, we got to win them over, you know, you got to. And then usually, hopefully that happens and you get some new fans.
What's your most memorable busking tip?
Ooh.
Oh man, I don't know. I think I remember I was traveling through the UK once, and I forget what neighborhood it was, but you weren't really supposed to be busking there, but there was so many people walking by, and I made like $40 with like 2 songs, and I was just like, I gotta keep going. And then they'd kick me out, but then you just kind of go bug them again, and you just don't give up.
You mentioned headlining, playing the 58 East Side Bowl 2 nights. Jeremie Albino is our special guest. The new album, by the way, I referenced earlier, available in orange, blue and the traditional black vinyl.
Yeah, we got a
If you
bunch
go to
of
the website.
colors. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, as the vinyl guy, you're making me want to. I'm a completist, so now I'm thinking, well, man, I got to get them all, which maybe is part of the marketing strategy.
Yeah, I guess so.
I
You
don't
know, I'm sure. Let me see. We might have a couple more extra ones in the van. I could take care of you there.
Wholesale discount.
Our Time in the Sun is the name of it. And from that album, I Don't Mind Waiting with Jeremie Albino. All over the world, WSM Radio, Circle Country TV.
This is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
And going to get a couple live from our special guest, Jeremie Albino, and his brand new album, Our Time in the Sun, produced by Grammy winner Dan Auerbach. We'll get the backstory on that relationship, friendship, and working relationship as you play the 58 at Eastside Bowl tonight. So where did he hear or see you the first time, and you guys became business partners?
Yeah, we honestly, he told me that he just found me on Instagram. I don't know what video or what connected, and he just reached out to my team, and I was on the road at the time, and once they hit us up, we kind of we're chatting about maybe working together, and the Black Keys were kind of passing through Toronto when that summer, and we just went out for dinner and kind of had a little get down, and yeah, we just got along really well. And I guess maybe a month later, I came down to Nashville and went down to his studio, and we just started writing songs. And yeah, honestly, it's just it was one of the most fun, the funnest times I've had making a record. You know,
how long did it take you to make it?
Well, it kind of I kind of came down over maybe a year or so. Came down to Nashville, but honestly, in all the days, we just did it was probably 4 days of writing and 4 days in the studio, and then that was kind of it. Dan likes to work really fast, and
that's not typical.
Yeah,
that is not typical.
No, well, it was kind of some really good magic was happening. You know, we just had the right guys and in the studio, and just Dan and I, we wrote a bunch of this record together, and it was just honestly just a blast, just getting in a room and writing songs. You know, in the past, you know, I haven't really done kind of this, you know, the Nashville style, just getting in a room with folks and writing, and over the years, I've kind of done it just a bit more, but this was really the most I've done, and yeah, I love it. You know, it's just you get in a room and the ideas just kind of flow, and especially like I said, with the right people in the room, and Dan is just such an amazing musician and producer and songwriter that it's just I feel like I just learned so much the second I walked into the room with him and everyone who played on the record. So it was it was a blast, and honestly, I wrote all my favorite songs. And
got that blues thing going on. Where'd that come from growing up in Toronto?
Honestly, I don't know, man. I grew up listening to a lot of blues. You know, when you're a kid, I feel like you don't really I don't know, 5 or 6 or 7. You don't really know what kind of music you like. And your parents just tell you, you seem to like that kind of stuff. And that was what it was. You know, I think I was probably drawn to blues, and my first instrument was the harmonica.
Okay.
And the first records I ever bought were a B.B. King and a John Lee Hooker CD.
Well, I saw Lightning Hopkins.
Yeah.
Referred to some comparisons. J.J. Cale.
Yeah.
Tony Joe White.
Yeah.
Long before I met you, I was like, I'm gonna like this guy.
Yeah, well, I'm glad, man. Yeah, this is it's fun, you know. Through the years, you kind of I guess this is my third record now, and you kind of just get to play the things you want to play and grow, and kind of, especially with this record, I felt like I was really able to dig into a lot of those roots of the music that I grew up listening to, and that's why it's one of my favorite records yet. It's
interesting. I'm sure there's some folks that have been with you since the first album, and others that are going to find you on this record and go back and listen to stuff.
Yeah.
But Ben Warrior was a big song
for
you.
Thanks,
huh?
man. Yeah. I appreciate it, man. That was when I wrote with my friend Cat Clyde, and we put out a little an album that was kind of mostly just traditional covers, but we ended up throwing in a couple songs we wrote together, and that one was one that kind of fit the bill with.
It caught on though, right?
Yeah. It's funny. Yeah, these kind of songs where you kind of they start with such a small idea, and then people seem to really catch on to them and really connect with it. And so it's really fun to kind of just get on the road and sing them for people.
We'll connect with Jeremie Albino tonight at the 58 East Side Bowl and the new album, Our Time in the Sun, wherever you get your music. Again, produced by Dan Auerbach. That's where it is. That's Jeremie Albino. You better keep rolling on the 405. Doggone thing's on fire.
Ah, thank you very much.
So that really has become an anthem, I'm sure, for the folks in Southern California.
Yeah.
The 405. Thank you so much, Jeremie. Great to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me out. Nice to meet y'all.
And Our Time in the Sun. It's a brand new album at the 58 East Side Bowl tonight. That's Chris Janson, Grand Ole Opry star. And what you see is what you get, a reference to his latest single, which is out right now. Chris Janson, and he's making news with Kelly Sutton this morning, too.
Can you believe it's been almost 10 years since that song came out?
So we are all a decade older than we were when that song, which seems like it should be, what, 4 or 5
Maybe
years
5.
old?
I was going to say 5.
250 million streams on just Spotify alone.
That's crazy.
250 million.
Well, it was Monday when Chris got the plaques because they came out and said, hey, we just wanted you to know, buy me a boat 5 times platinum. So congratulations to our buddy Chris Janson. This was all going down in Washington, D.C. He was there as a part of the presidential inauguration to benefit musicians on call. Of course, he's been a vocal advocate for protecting creators, right? So he was in D.C. for a lot of things, and they popped out and just said, hey, by the way, just wanted to give you a little recognition because you are now 5 times platinum, my man. So congratulations to our buddy Chris Janson. You heard it from the stage of the Grand Ole Opry. Okay, well, let's talk about what's going on in entertainment headlines with Old Dominion. They finally are getting closer to opening this bar. I feel like I've been talking about it for the better part of a year.
And you have.
Because I have.
Well, they've been building it for the better part of a year.
Because I have. So it's interesting because we hear like Riley Green all of a sudden, ooh, look, I have a bar. It's open and ready to go. Yep. He just took over an existing bar and they reskinned it to be Riley Green's Duck Blind or whatever. Old Dominion, they started from the ground.
You know what they should have done?
They should
in hindsight, being 2020, of course.
Right.
The Parthenon.
Oh, now that would be great.
Should have been
There's
the
plenty
home.
of space in there.
And it was already there.
Yeah.
Plenty of space.
You don't have to do a build-up.
Have Athena, have it in the room with Athena.
Yeah.
You have to knock on her foot and open a trap door.
I'm thinking, man.
Have Brad Tersey just write a song called Athena, and they'll cut it. There you go. See?
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I like where you're headed with this. Anyway, Odie's, it's the bar. They have been building it. It's taken a lot longer than they thought. But now they're saying, wait, we're so close. We think it's probably going to happen February.
What did they say?
Whoop, 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 whoop.
That's what I thought they said.
So close. They did show us a sneak peek of what the bar top looks like. So big, huge wooden bar up top. They've taken all their favorite pieces of memorabilia. So snapshots and Polaroids and postcards and different things that they grabbed from different venues that they've played, and they laid it all out. And it was so cute. They had a video showing like Matt and Jeff and Trevor and everybody kind of putting guitar picks in a circle. And so they really had a hand in crafting what the bar top is going to look like. And then they poured a resin over the top of it. So we're getting ever so close. We're thinking probably February. As soon as Odie's is open, of course, I'm going to let you guys know. It's in Midtown, so it is not downtown. If you come here and you do the whole honky-tonk scene on Broadway, that's not where Odie's is. It's over in Midtown, closer to Music Row.
February 37th.
February 37th
Okay.
is the projected
All right.
opening date.
Thank you.
Odiesbar.com for more info.
Also known as the 12th of Never.
That's right.
Yes.
Zach Top, one of our favorites. He's killing it these days. But even early on, he was drawing a crowd, especially down in Texas. He had one memory that he was sharing that I know it was a picture that will be ingrained in his mind forever. Take a listen.
One of my favorites was we played a little county fair down in Fort Bend, Texas, just outside of Houston. And I think they were expecting 4,000 or 5,000 people to show up, and we ended up having 20-some thousand there at the show. And there was people climbing in trees to get to see the stage and all this kind of thing. It was crazy. That was a very fun night, very memorable one.
And we both said, as soon as we heard them climbing in the trees, my Bible song came into my mind. Zacchaeus, you come down.
For you going to your house today. For I'm going to your house today.
So they're climbing the trees to see not Zacchaeus, but Zack Top. Very close.
Was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he, Charlie Mattos.
That's right.
That didn't make it to like catechism class as a kid.
I felt like we had hand motions that went along with it too.
Oh, yeah, kind of like deep and wide.
Yeah, wee little man was he.
Yeah.
Climbed up in the sycamore tree to see what he could
For
see.
the
So
Lord,
like
he wanted-
Itsy Bitsy Spider?
For the Lord, he wanted to see. Kind of, I guess. I don't know. It was Hanover,
Itsy Bitsy
Indiana.
Spider.
Kind of. I just remember doing it. I
So
remember.
let me get this right. The
Hand
Catholics
motions.
had Itsy Bitsy Spider.
I'm just saying those hand
you
movements
and I
were-
had Zacchaeus
We're
was a
at
wee little
Zacchaeus.
man.
Itsy
We're
Okay.
at Zacchaeus. That's right.
And Zach Top's background is in bluegrass. That's where he started. He is as successful as
picker.
he's been, and just burst onto the scene and blew up. And we loved him the first time we ever met him, and learned that bluegrass is kind of where it started for him. So his musicianship sometimes goes overlooked with his handsome good looks and his country singing and songwriting.
I will tell you there is a video that's just out right now, and it's Zack Top playing an electric guitar with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. And somebody said, this is peak masculinity right here. I'm like, gotta get rid of the cigarettes, though.
From WSM Radio, this is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
Well, Struggle Jennings, it occurred to me that producers and label executives everywhere have been saying it for years. Send musicians to prison.
Well,
And it's a multi-generational thing, right?
Yes, it is.
That is Struggle's new album, Live from Rikers Island, is out today. Wherever you get your music, it's there. Live performance and conversation. Give us this backstory on Send Musicians to Prison, the great work.
Yeah,
it's
so
doing.
they reached out to me. It's an organization. They heard that I had been going back into prisons and talking and singing and giving my testimony. And they were like, hey, we want to take you to Rikers Island. And I was like, of course, like, let's go.
Because that's a pretty heavy-duty joint,
Oh,
isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
With it has a
Probably one of
history.
the most dangerous in the world, yeah.
Wow.
For sure. And so, of course, I jumped right on it. Really didn't know what I signed up for. Normally, I just go in because I had done Turney Center with Kix Brooks and had been and sang in a prison before, but they completely recorded it, and I was like, you know what? I'm not just gonna waste this audio. I'm gonna put it out.
yeah.
And it's not the best representation of singing. It's 20 degrees in the prison, 8 a.m. and the emotions. I could barely talk. I was like shaking inside just from like. You could feel the energy but something so beautiful came from it.
And for people who don't know, it is on an island, Rikers Island, hence
Yeah.
the name, just outside of Queens,
New York,
right?
Yep. Right outside of Queens.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts when you walked in? Because you've had some history.
Yeah, I
You've
did
had
my-
some
I did my-
history.
I've done this before.
Yeah, it was
This time I
different.
get to leave, yeah. Yeah, no, it's incredible the feelings that you get walking back in, especially I did 5 years, so walking back into those gates, it's humbling and it reminds me, of what I came from, what I made it through, and kind of straightens me back out.
So when did you and Jelly Roll meet? You both grew up around here?
Yeah, no, we've been best friends for probably 22 years.
Oh, wow.
He was young. He had just got out of a little trouble. I had just got out of a little trouble, and we were both on 2nd Avenue we actually met in front of B.B. King's. He was hosting a rap battle and selling his CD, and I was selling my CD and promoting a show that I had. And we met and became best friends immediately and have been through all of the roller coasters of life together since.
Wow. We've talked in the past about one of the coolest parts about your gig now is that your music is so personal that you get, emails, texts, phone calls, letters, long stories at the merch table from people who relate to every word you're telling them. But going into that prison, that's like the ultimate merch table right there, because
100%,
everybody is relating to what you're saying, and you're the success of what maybe they can be.
Exactly, and that's what I love to be able to go in there and show, is walk back in there and say, hey, I was right here. I came out, my kids were in foster care. I had an ankle bracelet on. I was on federal probation. I was on state parole, but I made it through it, and it's possible.
So what sent you up that when you actually went to prison rather than to
Selling-
jail?
Yeah, I was selling. What?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
what?
I was selling drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and immediately when I got in there and started seeing what my family was going through because of the decisions I had made, because for so long I justified my actions that I was just taking care of the family, kind of those irrational beliefs that had been instilled in me as a child. And so breaking all those irrational beliefs and taking accountability and realizing who I was and who I really wanted to be and who I wanted my children to see me as, my children see me as,
I just went to Riverbend with Jelly about 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and we did an event there, and to see him connect with the people on the other side of the fence, all the inmates that are on the other side of the fence, and to see their eyes looking back, it was a different experience just from an outsider, just standing there watching that exchange.
Yeah.
And I understand now how that must have felt for you to have that same connection, because these guys are looking at you and really are finding, like, they're clinging to hope, and you're the hope.
100%. And as an artist, when you walk back in there, you're so vulnerable because it's all on the table. You can't hide. Those guys have been through it. They've seen it all. They're looking in your eyes, and you have to be honest and tell your truth. And there's no big production on a stage. It's just you and them, and it's intense. And the emotions are there. And afterwards, I got to hug the guys and talk to them. And there was guys that are in there for life that were crying on my shoulder, telling me how they're trying to rekindle with their kids, or, they're trying to fix things from in there. And, so much inspiration and hope, not only for them, but for me too.
That's awesome.
Live from Rikers Island is out today wherever you get your music. Struggle Jennings is our special guest. In the face, prior to you coming along in Jelly Roll, would have been Merle Haggard and Johnny Cash, and then famously Johnny performing live. And that changed everything in this relationship that you guys are continuing now, multi-generational.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm doing Folsom. We just signed up to do Folsom Prison, and I'm actually this week, next week on Tuesday, I'm getting to go back into Northeast Correctional Facility where I was actually at in Mountain City, Tennessee, and perform for the guys. So just keeping it on, man, trying to spread some inspiration. I feel like God brought me through all this for a reason. And, if I take all of the pain and all of the heartache and all of the mistakes that I make and I turn it into something great, then none of it was in vain.
So it's Felt the Same, which we're going to feature first this morning.
Play that.
Is it an original song?
Actually, it's written by Chris Canterbury. And I had heard the song and just it latched onto me in a dark time, when I was really going through some things on the road. And I was like, you know what? I reached out to him. I said, hey, man, I want to cover this song. And he was like, I would be honored. And Shooter produced this song. I love it. It really speaks a lot to what I've been through.
If you don't know Chris, that guy's got like a Stapleton vibe.
He does.
Does he not? Yeah. He's a cool guy.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah, we've got a couple together coming out that are really good.
With his Dale Earnhardt vibe this morning.
Yeah.
I just struggle is in the house.
Yeah, praise Dale.
All over the world on WSM Radio, Circle Country TV.
More Coffee, Country, and Cody is on WSM.
So a big smile came across Struggle Jennings' face. There was a commercial that aired as people were listening on radio for the Dwayne Eddy tribute show, the Titan of Twang. And you went, hey, that's my grandfather.
Yeah.
People forget that he was your grandfather. They think
know.
of Waylon and Jessie Coulter as a grandmother. But give us the heritage, the family lineage, if you will.
Yeah, so if people that don't know, Jessie Coulter and Dwayne were married first. And they had my mother. And when my mother was roughly 4, Jessie and Dwayne broke up or split. She met Waylon in a studio, and they fell in love and moved to Nashville with my mom. So Waylon was my step-grandfather, but he was Pawpaw. He raised me.
Heard Jessie say that she was coming off the divorce, and she really wasn't interested in getting married, really in a deep relationship at all, and said Waylon just kept on.
Yeah.
He kept on. And finally he said, honey, would it help my chances any if I told you one time I wanted to be a preacher? But something worked, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's great.
Yeah, so, and Dwayne was in my life a lot when I was younger. He moved to Nashville from Lake Tahoe, probably when I was about 6 or 7, and started building a relationship with him. And they would normally keep me when my mom was on the road with Waylon. Like, I'd stay there a lot of times if he was in town. So I had a great relationship with him, and we just lost him recently. So I'm really excited to see this tribute and watch his name and legacy continue to carry on.
I got to host his star induction at the Walk of Fame when he was inducted in just the last couple of years. He went in.
Amazing.
You know, we're sitting here on the Opry Plaza. You're on wood from the early 1950s Ryman. That's the same wood as the Circle. And anytime someone makes their Opry debut, it's a special night. We've had artists tattoo the date on themselves so they'll never forget. But you had another reason never forget the date of your Opry debut.
Oh.
This is like the best story ever.
Yeah, so I got the word that I was invited to the Grand Ole Opry and waited a few days to get the date. And when the date came, I couldn't do anything but just smile and might have cried. It landed on my last day of parole. So it's kind of like God's wink to this is the end of one chapter and the beginning of another, you know.
Oh, that's fantastic. What do you remember about that night? It all goes by so fast.
Absolutely nothing. I think I blacked out.
Okay. Fair.
Well, you got a standing ovation. I'll remind you of that for sure, right?
Well, I had just been here a few days before, and it was my birthday, album release. I went kind of crazy and hard. I had a blast here, and wasn't coffee and country and Cody that morning. But I had lost.
By the way, the Acuff house was home to Crown and Cranberry.
Yeah.
Apparently, we learned this from David Corlew, Charlie Daniels' longtime manager, a while back when he was a guest.
That'll be the after-hours show. Crown, Cranberry, and Cody.
I think it was probably between the matinee and the first evening.
Yeah, probably so.
Probably. That's great.
Yeah, so I had lost my voice, and I went out on that stage, and it was the rush of emotions, you know, coming from being on that stage, on that wood, being my last day of parole, and just being such a story and a testament to what is possible if you just stick to your guns and don't give up.
Where does Lori Morgan play a part in your story? Because the last time I saw you was at the Opry, but you were just a backstage guest, just back there smiling and walking around and shaking hands and hugging people. And I turned around, well, it was Struggles at the Opry tonight. Yeah. But it was with Lori.
Yeah, Lori is a longtime friend, amazing. She's been such a supporter. Me and her son, Jesse Whitley, are good friends. And, yeah, she's just been such a light and such a positive force in this whole journey of mine. Really had my back.
New album is out today. It's called Live from Rikers Island. This is live performance and conversation. You heard some of it earlier in the first segment from Rikers Island, Queens, New York, organized by Send Musicians to Prison. It's a nonprofit organization that believes prison can be a venue for second chances, and it certainly was for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Oh, wow.
And I'm actually getting to now be an ambassador for Send Musicians to Prison. So I'll be going back into 3 prisons this year, taking other artists.
Oh, wow.
So
Do you know where you're going?
I don't yet. I don't know where we're going, and I don't know who I'm going to take. I'm going to start hand-picking them now.
Not to ask a dumb question, but how's the sound in prison? As a concert venue.
You hear everything. Okay. You can hear a pin drop. Yeah.
Good point.
Well, it's like Ralph Emery interviewing Lester Moran of the Cadillac Cowboys.
That's right.
You get good sound in there.
That's right. Good sound.
Good sound in there, Ralph.
Yeah, it was great, though. I mean, you know, you don't know how they're going to take it.
Right.
You know, those guys, some of those guys are, you know, they're tough guys. So, but I got a bunch of claps, and a few of the songs, they knew the words halfway through it. You know, they had figured it out.
Yeah.
Because they probably none of them knew who I was, you know, but by the end they did, and we were all one big family, and there was a lot of healing done that day.
Struggle Jennings, introduce your guitar player and sing one for us this morning,
Yeah,
please.
this is Zach Gardner. He's started out as my guitar player and on stage, and then now he's one of the best songwriter producers that I've ever met, and insanely talented, and has the best spirit and heart, and it just this guy's going up. Like, you're going to see his name on so many big songs. He's already had great success this year, and it's continuing to snowball because great things happen to great people.
That is Struggle Jennings on Coffee, Country, and Cody. So great to see you and get a chance to catch up and share this new work called Live from Rikers Island, benefiting Send Musicians to Prison. Yeah. And the previous album, El Camino, is also available. You still got that Super Sport El Camino?
I'm giving it away.
No!
I'm giving it away to a fan. I did a raffle at a meet and greet for my last tour. And, I'm going to pull it next week. I had to get a few things fixed on it because I wanted to give it to him in good shape.
Yeah.
And, I'm giving the El Camino that's actually on the album cover, giving it to one lucky fan.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
If they want to come park it outside the A-Cup house here on the Opry Plaza, that
ultimate tailgate vehicle right there.
Oh, yeah.
Load in. We're going to see Struggle live in his El Camino.
Our hip factor goes up, 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 and we're hanging around the Struggle. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Good to see you.
Coffee, Country, and Cody with Kelly Sutton and Charlie Mattos. I'm Bill Cody.